So do y'all remember when Kash Patel said that there was no evidence that Epstein trafficked to anyone other than himself? We all immediately said, wait a minute, that ain't right. We all knew that was wrong because even Kash Patel had said in the past that that wasn't true. Well, that story now has a bigger hole in it because the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, has came out and pretty much just blew that excuse all to hell. I'm going to be reading you an article here from The Hill, but before I do, I want to remind you that if you haven't already, be sure and hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1 million subscribers. I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. I do believe that we'll get there soon. Doesn't cost anything to hit it and hit that notification bell so that you know when I put out a new video. Get in on the conversation if you want to. If not, just leave us a blue heart and that'll help boost the videos and the algorithm. But yeah, folks, I mean, this Epstein story is not going to go away, by the way, and we're going to continue to call it out. We're going to continue to talk for it, and we're going to continue to demand transparency, which is Mike Johnson's favorite word and something that the Republicans aren't at all. But let's read this article here together from The Hill. Lutnick says that Epstein was the greatest blackmailer ever. So yeah, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick called convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein the greatest blackmailer ever in an interview published on Tuesday. Lutnick told Podforce One host Miranda Devine that Epstein was a disgusting person from whom he and his wife kept their distance. The Commerce Secretary, who was Epstein's ex-neighbor, described to Devine his interaction with the financier during the tour of Epstein's home. Lutnick said the space was centered around a massage table, surrounded with candles. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day, Lutnick told Devine. And then he likes to get weirdly close to me and he says, and the right kind of massage. Lutnick said he and his wife immediately left and that he decided he will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. The secretary said the wealthy were welcomed in Epstein's space to get a massage, and some frequently took him up on the offer. They get a massage. That was the M.O. Get a massage. Get a massage. And what happened to that massage room, I'm assuming, was on video, Lutnick said. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. He blackmailed people. That's how he had money, he added. President Trump, Elon Musk, Prince Andrew, and others have had their ethics questioned over close ties with Epstein, who was convicted of sex crimes. Members of Congress have been pushing for transparency among elected officials who were associated with the deceased convict. Last month, House Oversight and Government Reform Committee released pages from a birthday book gifted to the late financier with celebratory letters from the rich and the powerful. Trump reportedly wrote a letter to Epstein for his 50th birthday celebration, written in the silhouette of a naked woman, according to the Wall Street Journal. House Democrats released the drawing purportedly from Trump. One of the lines in the correspondence read, "May every day be another wonderful secret." Now, the president has denied writing and signing this letter, in addition to any wrongdoing tied to his association with Epstein. However, the card has cast doubt on his claims of innocence for some voters who pushed for his second term on the campaign trail. Last month, the president told reporters that the letter to Epstein was a dead issue. And he also said that it was a Democratic hoax. But how many of you out there actually still believes that lie? Folks, there was Lutnick just blowing that complete story from Kash Patel, which we all know was bullshit to start with. And here we are with the government shut down. They're refusing to reopen it. They're also refusing to swear in Adelita Grijalva out of Arizona because she is the 218th vote that Thomas Massie needed in order to release the files. But I want to point out that Donald Trump was really quick to run and release the Amelia Earhart files to us. We got those. I don't know who was asking for those, but I guess he thought that might entertain us for a little while. No, at this point, we all want to see the files. Now, I've heard a lot of people on my side of the fence, a lot of fellow content creators, and I've got friends of mine that have been like, you know what, Brando, I really didn't care as much about this Epstein case. I really just thought it was a bunch of MAGA conspiracy theory bullshit. And so I really didn't care about it, but I do now. I honestly can say, folks, that I've always wanted to know more about this because it has always stunk to high heaven. It has always smelled like a rat from the minute that Epstein died in prison on Trump's watch. and there was people out there making these suggestions that maybe the Clintons had him knocked off. That was one conspiracy theory that a lot of people tried to throw out there. And did you notice how that for the longest time there was all those memes and all those hashtags of Epstein didn't kill himself? Have you noticed how those have just kind of faded away now? Have you noticed how that your MAGA friends aren't saying that anymore and they're not sharing those memes? And this is an issue that Trump ran on. This is an issue that did mean the world to MAGA Republicans because they really believed that if those files ever got released, they truly did believe that that would be the thing that would bring down the Democrats. That would be the thing that would expose the deep state. But yet here we are, and they just continue every time to trip themselves up in this story. Donald Trump, we could go back and we could start when Trump was being interviewed on Fox News. And they asked him, would you release the JFK files? He didn't hesitate to say yes. They asked him about 9/11. He did not hesitate to say yes. But when they asked him about Epstein, he pumped the brakes and said, well, maybe not that one, because that's got a lot of personal stuff in there. There's a lot of stuff in there that could damage a lot of people. He pumped the brakes on that one. But they continued to push. They got in. They gave MAGA influencers phase one. MAGA influencers was braced for phase two. They never got it. All they got in phase one was stuff they'd already seen before, and they were going, well, wait a minute, we already knew this. What about phase two? Then Pam Bondi, after they've talked about this list forever, Pam Bondi said the list was on her desk, and then suddenly there was no list. And then suddenly Kash Patel says, oh, he wasn't trafficking anyone to anyone other than himself. And now Lutnick comes out and says the exact and total opposite. And I remember back when I was a kid, whenever I would have to miss school, I would stay with my grandmother, and she'd be watching Matlock or Perry Mason. You don't have to watch very many Matlock and Perry Mason episodes to figure this out, that, hey, this doesn't look right at all. And if this was I promise you, old Ben Matlock, he would have already got to the bottom of this a long time ago. He would have already had this one figured out. But they just keep stringing us along with this one. And we keep demanding that the files be released, and they keep finding every reason under the sun to not release them. They're even stopping swearing in a congresswoman so they don't have to release them. And I'm not Ben Matlock or Perry Mason, but I think it's kind of obvious, ain't it? Either Donald Trump is guilty of something or he's protecting people that is. There's one of two things. Otherwise, this would be his big moment. Hell, this should be, if you really stop and think about Donald Trump for a second, he should be doing really well today because he claims that he's just raked in $17 trillion. So, hell, our economy should be absolutely booming. He should be the hero of the day if he raked in $17 trillion and then he could expose the deep state by just releasing the files. Can you imagine what a parade he could really have if he wanted to? Why isn't he? Why isn't that parade happening? Why isn't he releasing the files? Why isn't he just going ahead and dropping the big cherry on top? Hey, everybody, I got you $17 trillion. Oh, wait a minute. I can't actually show you where that money come from. Oh, wait a minute. I'll put the cherry on top. Here's the Epstein files. Here's all those Democrats you hated. Here they all are being criminals. Why don't he just go ahead? He's got all the power in the world to do it. Why doesn't he? And to all the MAGA Republicans who have stuck around for this entire video, and yeah, they do. I have people message me all the time that will have a bone to pick over something I said at the 9 or 10 minute mark. So all I would say to you is this. How many times are you going to sit and try to spin this one? I'm really not trying to one-up you. I'm really not. This isn't necessarily an argument. I just wanted to win. I didn't want to own the MAGA, That's not me. I know y'all want to own the libs. That's not what this was about to me. This was about a con man. A con artist that I have watched brainwash people I truly cared about. And that's what it is for me. There are people who I love in this world. There are people who I deeply care about in this world, and I care about their families. And they were brainwashed by one of the most unhinged lunatics in American history. And so if I could sit here and bring the receipts that shows him for the unhinged lunatic that he is, I'm going to do it. I'm going to continue to call it out. And yeah, I'm gonna keep saying it till somebody starts to go, hey, yeah, you know what? You might have a point. I did see a dude over, I can't remember his name, wish I could find it back, but I did see a dude over on TikTok who was through and through MAGA. He was all the way there. He called us libtards every day. He talked about how he hated us every day. And now he's starting to turn around and go, maybe we've been played. Maybe the enemy from within isn't that liberal who I want to own. More people's going to have to wake up to this, folks, or otherwise we're just going to continue to circle the drain. I think back to that George Carlin interview where he said, we're circling the drain, and I'm just a notebook guy, sitting back taking notes. I don't know if we're circling the drain or we're already in the toilet. I don't know. But I miss George Carlin. He was a huge hero. I wished he was still around to try to help us make sense of this one. When we've got comedians running to Saudi Arabia to take blood money, I really wish that we had Carlin here to call it out for what it is. We do have some good people that are out there calling it out, and we're going to continue to do so. But yeah, that's the world we live in. We live in a world where people are just so obsessed with owning the other side that they can't just admit that, hey, this is wrong. You know, to me, it's not about right and left. It's about right and wrong. This story, too, will probably get completely glossed over by the mainstream media. There won't be much said about it. And then people like us will be told, they're just trying to stir the pot. No, we're trying to wake people up, and we're not going to stop.